Representative of the South African Parliament at the Pan-African Parliament, Mdumiseni Ntuli, has raised concerns about other members labelling South Africa as xenophobic. Ntuli says everybody is welcome in the country and South Africans are not xenophobic. This follows protests in South Africa against undocumented immigration, and the government has taken a decision to deport those without proper documentation to their respective countries. Ntuli says the issue needs thorough discussions for the rest of the continent to understand South Africa's position.
We've been very concerned as South Africans that the level of debate, the understanding of the nature of the problem we're confronted with did not permeate in the interventions that were made by various members of parliament. But what rather emerged was people who are driven by a particular narrative that South Africans are inherently xenophobic, which is something that we categorically reject and are opposed to as South Africans. And we want to make the point very clear that everybody is welcome in our country. South Africa was assisted by the rest of the continent in the struggle for our own liberation. But it has equally made its own major contributions in terms of the economic development in the continent. And we've never seen that as a transactional relationship. We've understood that as a revolutionary task that we have as South Africans and as Africans in general. And the mere fact that other people are raising that as the basis upon which they are questioning our country's legitimacy and genuinity in terms of dealing with the issue remains a matter of serious concern to us. I must conclude by saying that our own calculations as we're observing the debates here and the numbers in the House at the time in which the motion was adopted, we are convinced that we did not have a quorum as Pan-African Parliament to adopt that motion. And we're going to lodge a formal complaint to the clerk of the Pan-African Parliament as well as the president of the Pan-African Parliament.
All right, for more on activities at the Pan-African Parliament, we're joined on the line by SABC News Specialist Correspondent Sophie Mokoena. Very good morning to you, Sophie. So according to Mdumiseni Ntuli in that specific clip, the anti-illegal foreigners protest on the 30th of June remains quite a contentious issue that some countries are yet to put behind them. They actually, or he believes, there needs to be some sort of a broader conversation to allow them to understand South Africa's position on illegal immigration.
Yes, you are correct, Mfundo. Today, we expect the Pan-African Parliament to host speakers from different parts of the continent. And you are correct, the issue of migration is a thorny one, as we had there, a member of the Pan-African Parliament coming from the South African Parliament, Mdumiseni Ntuli, complaining about the discussions yesterday when this motion was brought before the Pan-African Parliament. There were countries that were really, really hard on South Africa, and not talking about migration, but xenophobia and all forms of intolerance that their citizens are facing in South Africa. And the recent protests that we saw where South Africans, some of them took to the streets complaining about undocumented nationals, has become a thorny issue. And some are interpreting this as hatred or as xenophobia, while South Africa is trying to push back to indicate that South Africans are not xenophobic. There are genuine concerns as it relates to poverty and unemployment, and ordinary people are feeling the burden, and therefore it is up to leadership to guide or channel the anger and the frustrations correctly. But South Africa saying it is implementing its immigration laws and it will continue to do so. But as it does that, it will not violate international law, because South Africa is a signatory to many treaties around the world that deals with relationship, but also issues of migration and issues of people who are in the country for different reasons. And therefore, it's a question of balancing the laws of the country, respecting the international law and human rights. And therefore, South Africa is going to question the motion because it was presented at the time where the Pan-African Parliament was not even forming a quorum, but we don't know what will be the outcome. And we expect the Minister of International Relations to address the gathering today, as I pointed out that Today, the focus is on the conference of speakers from different parts of the continent.
We can only hope that that address is very comprehensive and leads to everybody else getting a clearer understanding of the position of South Africa insofar as it relates to illegal immigration. Sophie, thank you very much for that update. That's Specialist Correspondent Sophie Mokoena speaking to us on developments at the Pan-African Parliament.